Today I'm going to do the top 5 things I hate about the Young Museum.
Okay, one of the things I don't like about the De Young Museum is the parking. So, if you don't know, the De Young Museum is located inside of the Golden Gate Park, which is this really nice park in San Francisco. However, if you're coming from, say, the East Bay, other points where you might use the BART, you really have to BART and then take a bus. It's not too bad. However, on the weekend when most people are going to go from the city, it's going to be really packed. And on Sunday, they actually close the access to the park, so you really have to walk a half mile. So it's really unfriendly if you're handicapped, I would say. Like if you're wheelchair, it's going to be a really nightmare to get to this museum and enjoy. So that's not really handicap accessible. Not that other museums are necessarily. I mean, inside the museum, obviously they're compliant, but you know, the Muni driver's a little crazy in San Francisco, so it's not really an ideal situation. The parking during the week when I went is perfectly fine. You can park inside the park. It's just not a great scene. And that's it for the parking. The number 2 issue I have with the De Young Museum is the building design. Now, as you can see in the pictures, it's this really cool exterior in the sense like it has this metal flesh with kind of holes and it's undulating, so it's really fun for kids. However, if you look at the real building design, how it's laid out, it's kind of like these really long triangular shapes joined, and which isn't very functional for a layout space, which leads to a lot of long hallways. And another feature which is really strange, they add this tower, but all you can do is walk up it, and only certain people have access to it, so it's a completely dead space. You know, it draws the eye, so you know it's a museum, so that's a big plus. However, you don't know what the tower's for, or why they spent, you know, a good 30% more on the budget to make this tower that really doesn't make any sense. You know, buildings should be functional to some aspect, and it definitely needs to draw attention, what this building does. I wouldn't say it's the most beautiful building, but it's definitely, you know, it looks like a museum from the outside, and some of the aspects are nice, like the front desk area and the exhibit hall below. However, with this really long ungulated shape, it just doesn't work well. You end up with the long hallways, you have stairways that go up at an angle, which is really super annoying to walk. If you have any trouble walking at all, you're going to be kind of cursing the stairs, although you probably take the elevator. So yeah, I just wasn't really thrilled with that. So another annoying thing about the De Young is the erratic collection, and they even admit to it themselves. They started off with kind of a core collection, and then over years they kind of added to their African, American, and Oceanic art collection, which is really nice, but in some aspects, and they've ordered it by theme, so it's kind of weird. You have like masks from Asia mixed in with masks from North America, Mexico, and then you go to chairs and you have kind of a chair section. So in a way, it kind of doesn't make sense. You don't get a whole aspect of the culture. Obviously, every culture is going to have masks, chairs, but the reason for them is different. It might be a dance, sometimes it might be a massacre if it's the Mayans. So I think you really need to separate this out. And then they have a sprinkling of modern art in there. You might find a Remington, there's a little bit of Diego Rivera, there's glass art, which, you know, it kind of goes together, but it just doesn't go together. Some sections are pretty solid, like they do have some solid collections where it's like a whole room of one style, and I think that works more or less, but they have all these kind of add-ons of modern art. You know, you get the feeling overall that the museum doesn't know what they're collecting. Like if you're doing native art, then focus on native art, strip off all the modern art and put it in another museum. Like you have the SF MoMA for modern contemporary art, so why is the De Young collecting some of this other stuff? I mean, it's obviously nice. I just feel like they should sell it off and focus only on native art to be more holistic in their approach. So another issue is the bathrooms. They obviously have functional bathrooms. I'd say they're a little small, but they're basically functional bathrooms. They're all in this green tile, which is pretty ugly. I don't know who chose the green tile. I would have went either with, you know, consistent with the building design, with this kind of circular design kind of continued, and, you know, themes off of that, or maybe do colors. Like at the San Francisco MoMA, the bathrooms have actually different colors, so it's a really fun theme through each of the bathrooms. And here it's just really boring bathrooms, which is fine if you're a restaurant. You know, you really just, it's an office building kind of bathroom, and it's like, it's an art museum, dude. You went to all this expense on the exterior, and then you skipped on the bathrooms where you could have made a big splash. Okay, the 5th thing I don't like about the De Young is ugly art. Now, each museum kind of, if they're anything that has anything modern or contemporary, is going to have ugly art. You know, over the years, the thing that only survived from earlier centuries is really beautiful art. For the most part, anything ugly didn't survive past that century. So if you go back to earlier centuries, it's fine. Like all the earlier collections are really interesting. The oceanic art, the Americas art, the African art, that's really fun. But then you get to the contemporary art, it's really terrible. You have this one artist who takes found objects, they're all wood, and then glues them together and spray paints them black, and it's supposed to be kind of an installation piece. I just don't get it. I've seen this artist before and I'm impressed. They have this guy, really famous Rauschenberg from the 60s, and he has like cardboard glued together and it doesn't say anything. It's completely meaningless. Again, maybe it's fun for kind of a one-time art show, but to keep it a museum, I really think it just should be burned. There's another kind of found art object. It really doesn't say much. It's kind of a bunch of metal stuff glued together, a shovel, an ice pick, a boomerang, some metal that they use in building construction. So it doesn't say much either. Not much beauty to it. There's a couple bad paintings. So the really sensational bad painting is this black painting with white paint dripped down it, and it doesn't say anything. Any artist could have done this in 2 seconds. It really doesn't say anything. It's just really bad, horrible art. And that's my sense of the ugly art at the Young Museum.